The alarm came without warning. Thorol stood at the center of the command deck, his forearms folded behind his back as he watched the stars through the massive viewing window. For 30 cycles, he had commanded Border Station 12, the outermost outpost of the Valori Empire. In all that time, nothing interesting had ever happened. Ships came, ships went, traders paid their taxes. Smugglers were caught and punished. The routine never changed until now. "Commander," called out his second officer, a young Valori named Kessa. Her voice was steady, but Thorol could see the way her scales had turned pale blue. Fear. "We have a contact on the long-range sensors." Thorol turned slowly. He was old enough to know that panic helped nothing. Identify it. Kessa's fingers moved across her console. The holographic display above her station flickered and changed, showing a small dot moving through the darkness of space. Numbers appeared beside it, and Thorol felt his own scales shift color. "That cannot be correct," he said quietly. "I have checked 3 times, Commander. The readings are accurate. The dot was moving fast. Too fast." The Valori Empire had spent 10,000 cycles developing their ships, and their fastest vessels could travel at speeds that most species considered impossible. But this unknown contact was moving at nearly twice that speed. "Origin?" Thorol asked. "Unknown, Commander. The vessel came from beyond the outer rim, from the dead zones." The dead zones. That was what the Empire called the vast stretches of space that had never been explored. The Valori had mapped most of the known galaxy, cataloged over 800 intelligent species, and conquered half of them. But the dead zones remained empty on their charts. No one went there. No one came from their until now. Ship design? Kessa shook her head. Her scales were almost white now. "It matches nothing in our database, Commander. Nothing at all. The computer cannot even guess what species built it." Thorol walked slowly to her station and looked at the display himself. The ship was small, barely larger than a patrol vessel. Its shape was strange, all smooth curves and sharp angles that made no sense to his eyes. There were no weapons visible on its hull, but that meant nothing. The most dangerous ships often hid their teeth. "Have they responded to our automated greeting signal?" "No, Commander. They have not responded to anything." Thorol felt something cold move through his chest. In 30 cycles, he had dealt with pirates, rebels, and hostile species. He had fought in 3 wars and survived 2 assassination attempts. But he had never felt afraid like this. A ship from nowhere. A design that existed in no database. A speed that should not be possible. "Send a direct hail," he ordered. "All frequencies. All languages in our translation matrix." Kessa obeyed. The station's powerful communication array sent out a message in over 300 languages, asking the unknown vessel to identify itself and state its purpose. The message repeated every 30 seconds. There was no reply. The minutes passed slowly. Thorol watched the dot on the display grow closer and closer to the station. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. He could smell their fear, a sharp chemical scent that filled the air. "Commander," Kessa said suddenly. "The vessel is changing course." Thorol leaned forward. "Where is it going?" "It is coming directly toward us." The cold feeling in Thorol's chest grew stronger. He had 2 choices now. He could treat this as a hostile approach and activate the station's weapons. Or he could wait and see what happened. He chose to wait. He was old, but he was not a fool. Starting a fight with an unknown enemy was the fastest way to lose a war. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered calmly. "Power weapons, but do not fire. Raise shields to maximum, and keep sending that hail." The station came alive around him. Officers ran to their positions. The lights dimmed as power was redirected to defensive systems. The great plasma cannons that lined the station's hull hummed with energy, ready to fire at his command. And still the unknown ship came closer. "Visual range in 2 minutes," Kessa reported. Thorol nodded. He walked back to the viewing window and waited. His heart beat fast in his chest, but his face showed nothing. A commander could not show fear. Not ever. The stars outside were cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Velori homeworld orbited a yellow sun. The Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by advisors and generals who had never seen real danger. They made decisions about war and peace from the comfort of their palaces. But it was soldiers like Thorol who faced the consequences. 1 minute to visual range. Thorol clasped his 4 hands together. He thought about his family back home. His wife, who had gray scales now and moved slowly in the mornings. His children, both grown and serving the Empire in their own ways. His grandchildren, who he had not seen in 3 cycles, would he see them again? 30 seconds. The crew was completely silent now. Every eye was fixed on the viewing window. Every breath was held. 10 seconds. Thorol saw it first. A small shape, against the blackness of space, moving with a grace that seemed almost organic. It was silver and white, with blue lights running along its sides. It was beautiful in a strange way. Beautiful and terrifying. The ship slowed. It stopped moving just outside weapons range, as if it knew exactly how far the station's cannons could reach. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the communication console lit up. "Commander," Kessa whispered. "We are receiving a transmission." Thorol turned. "Let us hear it." The speakers crackled, and then a voice spoke. It was strange, unlike any voice Thorol had ever heard. The translation matrix worked quickly, converting the alien sounds into words he could understand. "This is Captain Kanjay of the exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace. Please do not shoot us." The message was simple, almost childlike in its directness. But it was the last part that made Thorol's blood turn cold. "We are humans. We are from a planet called Earth. We would like to talk." Humans. Earth. Thorol searched his memory. He had studied the database of known species many times. He knew the names of 800 races, their homeworlds, their histories, their weaknesses. He had never heard of humans. He had never heard of Earth, an unknown species, from an unknown world, with technology that surpassed the Empire's. Thorol looked at the small ship floating in the darkness, and for the first time in 30 cycles, he did not know what to do. "Commander?" Kessa asked quietly. "What are your orders?" Thorol was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his back and made his decision. "Open a channel," he said. "Let us talk to these humans." The crew obeyed. The channel opened, and Thorol stepped forward to face the unknown. He did not know it then, but this moment would change everything. The Empire would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same, all because of a small ship, a strange voice, and a species that had come from nowhere. The humans had arrived. The communication channel crackled with static for a moment. Then the voice returned, clearer this time. "Hello? Can you hear us? We are not sure if our translation device is working properly." Thorol stepped closer to the console. His crew watched him with wide eyes, waiting for him to speak. He had commanded this station for 30 cycles. He had negotiated with hostile species, calmed angry traders, and talked down armed rebels. But this was different. This was something new. "I can hear you," Thorol said slowly. "I am Commander Thorol of Border Station 12, representing the Velori Empire. You are in our space." There was a pause. Thorol could hear muffled voices in the background, as if the humans were discussing something among themselves. Then the voice returned. "We apologize for entering without permission. We did not know this space belonged to anyone. Our sensors showed no settlements or stations until we were already inside your territory." Thorol frowned. That was impossible. The Empire's border beacons sent out signals that could be detected from 10 light years away. Any ship with basic sensors should have seen them. Your sensors could not detect our beacons? We detected them, but we did not understand what they were. The signals were in a format we have never seen before. Tessa looked up from her station. Commander, they are telling the truth. Their ship systems do not match any known technology. Their sensors might work differently than ours. Thorol nodded slowly. Every species developed technology in its own way. The Valori used quantum-based systems. The Kreth used organic computers. The Mora used crystalline matrices. Perhaps these humans use something else entirely. You said you come from a planet called Earth, Thorol said. I have searched our database. There is no record of this world. That is correct. The human voice sounded calm, almost friendly. Earth is far from here. Very far. We are the first humans to travel this deep into the galaxy. How is that possible? Our empire has mapped most of the known galaxy. We have cataloged over 800 species. How could we have missed an entire civilization? There was another pause. More muffled voices. Then a different voice came through the speakers. This one was higher, softer. Commander Thorol, my name is Park Nari. I am the science officer on this vessel. May I explain? Thorol glanced at Kessa. She shrugged her narrow shoulders. He turned back to the console. You may. Thank you. Earth is located in what you call the dead zones. Our star system is in a region of space that your people have never explored. We developed alone, without contact with any other species. We did not even know other intelligent life existed until we built ships fast enough to travel between stars. Thorol felt his scales change color despite his best efforts. The dead zones were vast, empty regions that the Empire had always ignored. There was nothing there. No resources worth taking. No species worth conquering. So they had never looked. And all that time, an entire civilization had been growing in the darkness. How long have your people been traveling among the stars? He asked. About 200 of our years. We call it 2 centuries. 200 years. That was nothing. The Valori had been traveling among the stars for 10,000 cycles. They had built an empire that spanned half the galaxy. And yet this young species had somehow developed technology that the Empire could not match. Your ship, Thorol said carefully. It moves faster than any vessel in our records. How is this possible? Pagnari laughed softly. We are not sure, honestly. Our scientists are still trying to understand it fully. We discovered a new way to fold space about 50 years ago. Since then, we have been improving the technology. But there is still much we do not know. Thorol felt cold again. These humans spoke about folding space as if it were nothing special. The Valori had been trying to develop such technology for centuries. They had failed every time. Commander, Kessa said quietly, the High Council needs to know about this. I am aware, Thorol replied. He looked at the small silver ship floating in the darkness. 6 crew members. 1 tiny vessel. But what they represented was much larger. Captain Kang Jae, Thorol said into the console. I would like to speak with you face to face. Would you be willing to dock with our station? There was a long pause. Thorol understood. He was asking the humans to put themselves in danger. Once their ship was docked, they would be trapped. The station's weapons could destroy them in seconds, but the human captain's voice was calm when he replied. Yes, Commander. We would be happy to meet you in person. Please send us docking instructions. Thorol was surprised. Either the humans were very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both. Kessa, send them the docking protocols. The silver ship moved forward slowly. Thorol watched it approach through the viewing window. It was even more beautiful up close. The hull was perfectly smooth, without a single seam or joint visible. The blue lights pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The ship entered the docking bay. The massive doors closed behind it. Thorol gathered 4 of his best officers and walked down to meet the strangers. The docking bay was large and cold. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the metal walls. Thorol and his officers stood in a line, their hands resting on their weapons. They were not taking any chances. The silver ship sat in the center of the bay. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a door appeared in the ship's hull, where no door had been visible before. It slid open silently, and the humans stepped out. There were 6 of them. They were tall and thin, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. Their skin was pale brown, and they had dark hair on their heads. Their eyes were small and dark, with round pupils that reminded Thorol of prey animals. They looked weak, fragile, harmless. But Thorol knew better than to judge by appearance. The human in front was older than the others. He had lines on his face and gray mixed with the black of his hair. He wore a simple uniform, dark blue with silver trim. He stepped forward and raised one hand, palm out. "I am Captain Kang Jae," he said. His voice was the same one Thorol had heard through the console. "Thank you for meeting with us." Thorol studied him carefully. The human's eyes were steady. His body was relaxed. If he was afraid, he did not show it. "I am Commander Thorol," he replied. "Welcome to our station." The captain nodded. He gestured to the people behind him. "This is my crew. Parton Ari, my science officer. Lee Hyun, my engineer. Kim Swa, my pilot. Cho Dae, my communications specialist. And Han Yuna, my medical officer." Each human nodded as their name was spoken. They all looked young, except for the captain. They all looked calm. "You are very brave to dock with us," Thorol said. "Or very foolish." Captain Kang smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth. Among the Valori, showing teeth was a sign of aggression. But Thorol sensed no threat from this human. "Perhaps a little of both," the captain said. "But we believe that talking is better than fighting. We have come a long way to meet new people. It would be sad to start that meeting with violence." Thorol was silent for a moment. Then he made a decision. "Come with me," he said. "We have much to discuss." He turned and walked toward the door. Behind him, he heard the humans follow. His officers fell in around them, still alert, still ready for danger. But as they walked through the corridors of the station, Thorol began to think that maybe, just maybe, these strange creatures from the dead zones were exactly what they claimed to be: explorers, travelers, people who wanted to talk. Of course, he would not trust them completely. Not yet, but he was willing to listen, and that was the first step. The meeting room was small and cold. Thorol sat on one side of the metal table. Captain Kang Jae sat on the other. Between them, a holographic display showed the star charts of the region. They had been talking for 3 hours. Thorol had asked many questions. Where did the humans come from? How did they build their ship? Why were they here? The captain had answered every question honestly, or at least appeared to. He spoke about Earth, a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. He spoke about human history, their wars and their discoveries, their failures and their triumphs. He spoke about the day they first looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now Thorol sat in silence, trying to understand what he had learned. "You truly developed all this technology by yourselves?" he asked finally. Captain Kang nodded. "Yes, we had no one to teach us, no one to trade with. Everything we have, we built on our own. That is remarkable." "Thank you. Though I think it was also very slow. Other species had help." They learned from each other. We had to figure out everything from the beginning. Thorol thought about that. The Valori had conquered their first neighbor species 3,000 cycles ago. They had taken their technology, their resources, their knowledge. That was how empires were built. You took from others and made yourself stronger. But the humans had done something different. They had built everything from nothing, alone in the darkness of the dead zones. And somehow, they had surpassed the Empire. "I would like to see your ship," Thorol said. The captain raised his eyebrows. "Our ship?" "Yes, from the inside. I want to understand how you travel so fast." Captain Kang looked at him for a long moment. Thorol could not read his expression. Human faces were strange, with all their small movements and subtle changes. He did not know what they meant. "All right," the captain said finally. "I will show you." They walked back to the docking bay together. The silver ship sat where they had left it, beautiful and mysterious. The captain touched the hull, and a door appeared again, sliding open without a sound. "Please," he said. "Come inside." Thorol stepped through the door, and then he stopped, unable to move. The inside of the ship was impossible. From the outside, the vessel was small. Perhaps 50 meters long, no larger than a patrol craft. But the inside was vast. The corridor stretched ahead of him for at least 200 meters. There were doors on both sides, leading to rooms that should not exist. How is this possible? Thorol whispered. Lehian, the young engineer, stepped up beside them. He had a friendly face and quick eyes. "Space folding?" he said simply. "The same technology that lets us travel fast also lets us fold the space inside the ship. The interior is about 20 times larger than the exterior." Thorol felt dizzy. The Valori had theorized about such technology. Their greatest scientists had said it was impossible. And yet here it was, built by a species that had been traveling among the stars for only 200 years. "Come," Captain Kang said. "I will show you the engine room." They walked through the ship. Thorol saw living quarters with comfortable beds and growing plants. He saw a medical bay with equipment he did not recognize. He saw a recreation room where 2 crew members were playing some kind of game with a ball. Everything was clean and bright. The air smelled fresh. It felt more like a home than a ship. Finally, they reached the engine room. It was the largest space Thorol had seen so far. In the center, a column of blue light rose from the floor to the ceiling. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "This is our drive core," Lehian said. He sounded proud, like a parent talking about a child. "It creates a fold in space-time around the ship. Instead of traveling through space, we fold space around us. That is why we can move so fast." Thorol stared at the blue light. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. "How did you discover this technology?" Lehian scratched his head. "It was an accident, actually. About 50 years ago, one of our scientists was experimenting with gravity fields. Something went wrong, and his entire laboratory disappeared. It took us 3 years to find it again. It had been folded into a pocket of space-time. An accident? Yes, most of our best discoveries happen by accident. We try things, we fail, and sometimes we fail in interesting ways. That is how humans learn." Thorol did not know what to say. The Valori learned through conquest and theft. They took what others had built. But the humans learned through failure. Through trying and falling and trying again. It was a completely different way of thinking. "Commander," Parknari said. She had followed them into the engine room. "I know what you are thinking. You are wondering if we are dangerous." Thorol looked at her. "Yes, I am." "That is fair. If I were you, I would wonder the same thing." She walked closer to the blue column of light. Her face was lit by its glow. "But I want you to understand something. We did not come here to conquer. We did not come here to fight. We came here because we were lonely. Lonely? Yes. For 200 years, we have been searching the stars, looking for someone else. Anyone else. We wanted to know if we were alone in the universe. She turned to face him. Her eyes were bright. And now we have found you. We have found the Valori Empire and all its people. We have found proof that we are not alone. That is all we wanted. Thorol was silent for a long moment. He thought about his empire, built on war and conquest. He thought about the humans, built on isolation and discovery. They were so different. And yet here they were, standing together in this strange ship, talking like old friends. I believe you, he said finally. Captain Kang smiled. Thank you, Commander. But I must warn you. I believe you, but the High Council may not. When they learn about your ship, your technology, your speed, they will be afraid. And afraid people do dangerous things. The captain's smile faded. We understand. We have learned that lesson many times in our own history. What will you do? Captain Kang looked at his crew. They looked back at him. Some silent communication passed between them. We have already sent a message to Earth, the captain said. It will take some time to arrive, but when it does, more ships will come. Not to fight, just to talk. To learn about you and share what we know. Thorol felt a chill run through him. More ships. More of these impossible vessels, with their space-folding engines and their friendly crews. How many ships does your world have? I do not know the exact number, but many. Thousands probably. Thousands. The Valori fleet was the largest in the galaxy, with nearly 10,000 ships. But if each human ship was as fast as this one, speed would matter more than numbers. The Council will see this as a threat, Thorol said quietly. Will you? Thorol looked at the blue light of the engine core. He looked at the young engineer with his friendly face. He looked at the science officer with her bright eyes. He looked at the captain with his calm voice and steady hands. No, he said. I do not think you are a threat. I think you are a wonder. Captain Kang extended his hand. Thorol had seen the humans do this before. It was some kind of greeting. He reached out with one of his own hands and took it. The human's grip was warm and strong. Then let us work together, the captain said. Let us show the Council that humans and Valori can be friends. Thorol nodded slowly. He did not know if it was possible. The Empire was old and set in its ways. Change came slowly, if it came at all, but he was willing to try. For the first time in 30 cycles, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The message reached the homeworld in 3 days. Thorol had sent a full report, including everything he had learned about the humans, their ship, their technology, their history, their intentions. He had been careful to present the facts without opinion, letting the High Council draw their own conclusions. He knew what those conclusions would be. The council chamber was the largest room on the Valori homeworld. It was built in the heart of the capital city, beneath a dome of crystal that showed the stars above. 12 seats circled a central platform, each one holding a member of the High Council. And in the tallest seat, at the center of it all, sat Emperor Varth III. Read the report again, the Emperor commanded. His advisor obeyed. The words filled the chamber, echoing off the stone walls. Unknown species. Unknown technology. Superior speed. Thousands of ships. When the reading was finished, silence fell over the room. This is impossible, said Councilor Mara. She was the oldest member of the council, with scales so dark they were almost black. The dead zones are empty. We have always known this. Apparently, we were wrong, said Councilor Vex. He was younger, with bright green scales and sharp eyes. These humans have been living there all along. For how long? How did we miss them? Does it matter? Counselor Vex leaned forward. What matters is that they are here now. And they are faster than us. The words hung in the air like smoke. Faster than us. Those 3 words changed everything. For 10,000 cycles, the Valori had been the most advanced species in the galaxy. Their ships were the fastest. Their weapons were the strongest. No one could challenge them until now. Emperor Varath raised one of his 4 hands. The council fell silent. What do we know about their weapons? He asked. The advisor checked his notes. Commander Thorol reports that no weapons were visible on the human ship. However, their technology is so advanced that weapons could be hidden anywhere. They claim to come in peace, said Counselor Sarah. She was a small woman with silver scales, known for her calm mind. Should we not give them a chance? A chance to do what? Counselor Vex snapped. To study our defenses? To count our ships? To prepare for an invasion? They are explorers, scientists. That is what the report says. The report says what they told Commander Thorol. We have no way to know if they were telling the truth. Counselor Sarah shook her head. And we have no reason to think they were lying. The argument continued. Some counselors wanted to welcome the humans. Others wanted to destroy them before more ships arrived. The voices grew louder, angrier. The crystal dome above seemed to shake with the force of their disagreement. Emperor Varath watched in silence. His face showed nothing. He had ruled the Empire for 60 cycles, through 3 wars and 2 rebellions. He had learned long ago that patience was the greatest weapon. Finally, he raised his hand again. Enough. The chamber went quiet. We face a simple choice, the Emperor said. His voice was old but strong. We can treat these humans as friends, or we can treat them as enemies. If we treat them as friends and they betray us, we lose. If we treat them as enemies and they wanted peace, we lose. Then what do we do? Asked Counselor Mara. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. We prepare for war, but we do not start one. He stood from his throne and walked to the center of the platform. The stars above seemed to spin around him. Send our fastest ships to Border Station 12. Increase patrols along the edge of the dead zones. Activate all defense platforms. Ready our weapons. He paused. But do not fire unless fired upon. Do not attack unless attacked. We will show strength, but we will not show fear. Counselor Vex stood. And if more human ships arrive? Then we talk to them. We learn what they want. We find out if they are truly friends or secret enemies. The Emperor's eyes were hard. The Valori Empire has survived for 10,000 cycles. We did not survive by being foolish, but we also did not survive by being cowards. We face this new species with open eyes and ready weapons. That is our way. The council bowed their heads in agreement. The decision was made far away, at Border Station 12. Thorol received the news. He was standing on the command deck when the message arrived. Captain Kanjay stood beside him. They had been talking for hours, sharing stories about their peoples, their histories, their hopes. The council has responded, Kessa reported. Her voice was tight. Thorol read the message. His heart sank. What does it say? Captain Kang asked. Thorol was silent for a moment. Then he handed the message to the human captain. Captain Kang read it slowly. His face did not change. But Thorol could see something shift in his eyes. Understanding, sadness, perhaps fear. They are preparing for war, the captain said quietly. They are preparing for the possibility of war. It is not the same thing. No, but it is close. Thorol turned to look out the viewing window. The stars were cold and distant. Somewhere out there, Valori ships were already moving toward the border. Weapons were being charged. Soldiers were being woken from sleep. "I am sorry," he said. "I hoped for a different response." Captain Kang put a hand on his shoulder. It was a strange gesture, but Thorol found it comforting. "Do not apologize. Your council is doing what they think is right, protecting their people. We would do the same. Would you?" "Yes, we have done it many times in our history. Humans are not strangers to fear. Or to war." The captain's voice was sad. "But we have also learned that fear does not have to lead to war. Sometimes it leads to understanding." Thorol looked at him. "How?" "By talking. By listening. By showing that we are not a threat." Captain Kang smiled, but it was a small smile without joy. "Our message has already been sent to Earth. More ships will come. When they arrive, we will not fight. We will simply be here. We will talk to anyone who wants to talk. We will share what we know with anyone who wants to learn. And slowly, over time, your people will see that we mean what we say. That could take years, decades. Yes, it could. But we are patient. Humans have always been patient." Thorol thought about his empire. 10,000 cycles of conquest and war. 10,000 cycles of taking what they wanted and crushing anyone who stood in their way. Could they learn a different way? Could they change? He did not know. But looking at the human captain, with his calm eyes and steady voice, he thought that maybe, just maybe, it was possible. "My people will watch you," Thorol said. "They will study your every move. They will look for weakness, for lies, for hidden threats. We know. And if they find any reason to believe you are enemies, they will attack. We know that too. You are not afraid?" Captain Kang looked at him. His dark eyes were deep, full of things Thorol could not understand. "Of course we are afraid," the captain said. "But fear is not the same as surrender. We will not run. We will not hide. We will stand here, in peace, and show your people who we really are." He extended his hand again. Thorol took it. "Whatever happens next," the captain said, "I am glad we met you, Commander Thorol. You give me hope for your people." Thorol felt something warm in his chest. It was a strange feeling, unfamiliar. "And you give me hope for mine," he replied. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere in the darkness, the future was waiting. Neither of them knew what it would bring, but they would face it together. 6 months passed. Thorol watched the border every day. Valori warships had arrived, just as the council ordered. 50 of them, the fastest and most powerful in the fleet. They formed a line around Border Station 12, their weapons ready, their crews alert. And still, the humans did not attack. Captain Kanjay and his crew stayed on the station. They ate with the Valori officers. They shared stories and music and games. They answered every question honestly, even when the questions were hard. Slowly, the fear began to fade, but the warships remained. Then, on the first day of the 7th month, the sensors screamed. "Multiple contacts," Kessa shouted. "Coming from the dead zones." Thorol ran to the command deck. The holographic display showed dozens of dots, all moving at impossible speeds. His heart pounded in his chest. "How many?" "I count 32 vessels, Commander. All human design. 32 ships. The Valori had 50 warships waiting. The numbers were in their favor. But if the human ships were as fast as Captain Kang's vessel, numbers would not matter." "Battle stations," Thorol ordered. His voice was calm, but his scales had turned pale. "Power all weapons. Raise shields." The station came alive with activity. Officers ran to their posts. The warships outside shifted into attack formation. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Captain Kang appeared at Thorol's side. He looked tired. He had not slept well since the message from his homeworld arrived. "Commander," he said, "please, do not fire. If your ships attack, we will defend ourselves. They will not attack. I promise you." Thorol looked at him. The human's face was open, honest. There was no fear in his eyes, only hope. "How can you be sure?" "Because I know my people. We did not come here for war. We came for something else." The human ships slowed as they approached the border. They did not spread out into attack formation. Instead, they gathered together, moving in a single group. The largest ship, a beautiful vessel twice the size of Captain Kang's Horizon, moved to the front. "We are receiving a transmission," Kessa reported. "Let me hear it." The speakers crackled. A new voice filled the command deck. It was a woman's voice, strong and warm. "This is Admiral Yoon Hana of the United Earth Fleet. We come in peace. We carry no weapons. We bring only gifts and the hope of friendship. Please, do not be afraid." Thorol stared at the display. No weapons? That was impossible. No fleet traveled without weapons. It was suicide. "Scan those ships," he ordered. Kessa worked at her console. Her eyes went wide. "Commander, she is telling the truth. I detect no weapon systems on any of the human vessels. They are completely unarmed." The command deck went silent. 50 Valori warships, armed and ready for battle. 32 human ships, carrying nothing but cargo and crew. It was the strangest sight Thorol had ever seen. "Why?" he whispered. "Why would they come here defenseless?" Captain Kang stepped forward. His voice was soft. "Because we wanted you to know that we trust you. We wanted to show you that we are not enemies. There is no better way to prove peace than to come without weapons." Thorol felt something break inside him. For 6 months, he had been waiting for the humans to show their true nature. Waiting for the aggression, the threats, the demands. That was how every other species behaved. That was how the galaxy worked. But the humans were different. They had come to a hostile border, surrounded by warships, and they had come unarmed. They had put their lives in Valori hands. It was either the bravest thing Thorol had ever seen, or the most foolish. Perhaps both. "What gifts do you bring?" he asked. Admiral Yoon's voice returned. "Many things. Medicine that can cure diseases your doctors have never seen. Technology that can make your farms grow more food. Music and art and stories from our world. And most importantly, knowledge. Everything we know about space folding, about faster-than-light travel, about all the discoveries we have made. We offer it freely, with no conditions." The Valori officers looked at each other. They could not believe what they were hearing. Free technology? Free knowledge? In the Empire, information was power. No one gave it away. Why? Thorol asked. "Why would you share these things?" "Because we believe that knowledge should not be hoarded. It should be shared. When everyone knows more, everyone grows stronger. That is how humans think." Thorol was silent for a long time. The warships waited. The human fleet waited. Everyone waited for his decision. He thought about his empire. 10,000 cycles of war and conquest. 10,000 cycles of taking and keeping and never sharing. It had made the Valori strong, yes, but it had also made them feared, hated, alone. Maybe there was another way. "Lower shields," he said quietly. Kessa stared at him. "Commander?" "Lower shields. Power down weapons. Tell the fleet to stand down." "But Commander, the Council ordered us to be ready for war." Thorol turned to look at her. His scales had changed color, from pale blue to deep gold. Pride, confidence, decision. "The Council ordered us to protect the Empire. I am doing that. But protection does not always mean war. Sometimes it means peace." He turned back to the viewing window. The human ships were still waiting, patient and calm. Open a channel to Admiral Yoon." The connection was made. Thorol spoke clearly so that everyone could hear. "Admiral, I am Commander Thorol of Border Station 12. On behalf of the Valori Empire, I welcome you to our space. Please, bring your ships forward. We have much to discuss." There was a moment of silence. Then Admiral Yoon's voice returned, filled with warmth. "Thank you, Commander. We are honored by your trust. We will not let you down." The human ships moved forward. They passed the line of Valori warships, which did nothing to stop them. They entered Empire space for the first time in history, not as invaders, but as guests. Captain Kang put his hand on Thorol's shoulder again. "You have done a brave thing today." "Commander, I have done a necessary thing. The Empire cannot fight what it does not understand. And I think we need to understand you better. We will help you. We will teach you everything we know. And we will teach you what we know. Perhaps together, we can build something new." The captain smiled. It was a real smile this time, full of joy. "I think we can." In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The human ships docked at stations across the border. Scientists from both species met and shared their work. Doctors traded medicines. Engineers studied each other's designs. Slowly, the fear faded. Slowly, understanding grew. The High Council watched it all with careful eyes. They sent observers to every meeting, spies to every gathering. They looked for betrayal, for hidden agendas, for secret weapons. They found none. Instead, they found something unexpected. They found friendship. The humans were strange, yes. They looked different, thought different, acted different. But beneath all those differences, they were not so unlike the Valori. They loved their families. They feared death. They dreamed of a better future, and they were willing to share that future with anyone who wanted it. 1 year after the first human ship appeared at Border Station 12, Emperor Varath made a decision. He signed a treaty of friendship with the United Earth government. It was the first time in the Empire's history that a treaty was signed without a war first. Thorol was there for the ceremony. He stood beside Captain Kang Jae, watching as the two leaders pressed their hands together. "We did it," the captain said quietly. "We actually did it." "We did," Thorol agreed. "Though I still do not fully understand why your people came to us this way. Unarmed, open, trusting." Captain Kang thought for a moment. Then he spoke. "Because we were alone for so long. 200 years among the stars, searching for someone else. Anyone else. When we finally found you, we did not want to waste the chance. We did not want fear to ruin what could be." He looked up at the stars, visible through the great window of the ceremony hall. "The universe is too big and too cold to face alone. We wanted friends. And now we have them." Thorol followed his gaze. The stars were the same as they had always been, cold, distant, eternal. But somehow, they seemed less lonely now. The humans had arrived. And nothing would ever be the same again.